Go ahead.
I now call to order the regular board meeting of the Park Ridge Park District Board of Park Commissioners. It is Thursday, September 15th, 2022 at approximately 7:03 p.m. and we are at the Paula Hassel O'Connor Community Building at 733 North Prospect Avenue, Park Ridge, Illinois. If we can now stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Mary Ann, if you could please take the roll.
Commissioner Bundy? Here. Commissioner Bowe?
Here.
Commissioner Coyne? Commissioner Grau?
Here.
Commissioner Hulting?
Here.
Commissioner Tuttle?
Here.
Commissioner Leduc?
Here. All right. Does anyone have anything to amend, add, or delete? Well, I actually have an item to delete for the current agenda. Item number H, intergovernment, part 1 of, under item number H, the intergovernmental agreement for facilities use and operation of a before and after school recreational program has been stricken from this agenda and is being tabled to a future meeting. Does anybody else have anything to amend, add, or delete to the current agenda? All right, seeing none. I'd now like to ask if there's any public comment on non-agenda items. And just a reminder that public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. So any non-agenda public comments? Nope. All right. Seeing none, I move to approve the regular board meeting minutes of Thursday, August 18th, 2022.
Second.
And is there any discussion? Seeing none, let's call for a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Moving on to the report of park officials. My president's report is pretty brief. I wanted to compliment April on the emphasis of scout programs. Recently, not only did some members of my Brownie troop go on the Wildwood Backyard Campout, which was an adorable and fun way to introduce them to camping, but also then we did a special troop event, a fire safety lesson at Wildwood, where the girls learned how to, start a fire, light matches, do a little cooking over the fire. And I just wanted to compliment the staff on how well that was carried out. And we had like 9 8-year-old girls around a fire, and everybody stayed safe. So I count that as a win. Wonderful. Thank you. I'll pass it on to the team. And so now the attorney's report.
So I just want to give a little bit of an update on the Woodland Park project. God love them, Gail and Terry have done everything they can possibly do to encourage our contractor. The issue is, the problem is, the delays were caused by things that are attributed in the law to the owner. We had uncovered this pipe that nobody knew was there. It wasn't on any, and we did all the due diligence. There were no pipes to be discovered until we found them in the ground. Then we had the permitting delays, influenced by one of our neighbors, but nevertheless we had the permitting delays. And we had the choice. We could pay the contractors to wait and do nothing, or they went off and did other jobs and now trying to remobilize them. In either event, it's our cost, it's our problem. And I know it's frustrating for everybody that it's not progressing as quickly as we'd like, but this is the worst construction market I've seen in my 35 years of doing public work. The absolute worst. Just like it's hard for us to get vehicles or equipment that we need, so too for contractors. And we're nearing the end of a construction season where equipment's broken and people can't get parts, much less the labor market problem. So I just want to say we've explored everything possible. We've thought about playing the surety bond card, but it's laughable. We would be laughed out of court if we tried to default them on the surety bond when it was our delays attributable to the owner in the law that caused us to lose the subcontractors from the job site. So while it's difficult, we don't have really any options to play. We've talked about incentivizing, we've talked about possibly going out for a rebid, but the contractors hear 8% inflation in the news, your rebid is not going to be a savings. So I'm afraid we just have to be patient and wait, and we'll get it done when we get it done. But it's not from lack of trying. I think Gail and Terry and I have talked about even the most creative arguments we can make, and it would be good money after bad. So that's why it's taking this.
Well, thank you, Dirk, for not only giving us the update, but also giving us the context to frame it with.
I think to add to what Dirk's saying is that we also had that strike after, so we had the pipe issue, and the strike was the asphalt.
Aggregate.
Right. So it affected all the subcontractors for doing all of, several of the jobs that we needed to do. And that strike just ended August 10th.
Yeah, it was August, but it lasted for 7 weeks.
7
of the
weeks.
construction period.
So then what happened on top of the issue with the pipe is the subcontractors that were still going to work, they went and found other work. So we have weekly meetings, and we have, they said they're going to start to mobilize very soon, and they're hoping to get started again with the work. So we're very hopeful it's going to start back up and they'll have a good fall and get the project moving again. So we thank everybody in this room, especially too, for your patience.
Thank you.
Can I just continue?
Yeah.
Great. I just have a few things. If you can believe it or not, Park District Board elections are coming our way again. September 20th is the date for applications to start to be put in for Board of Commissioners. We have 3 positions open for the Board of Commissioners, and then the filing is from December 12th through the 19th. But we will have packets available at Main Park, and so people can come and pick up a packet. You really need to go to the Cook County website, but we have just some information to help people get started. If anybody is interested in that, they'll need 99 signatures.
No, okay, correct that.
Yep. I was going to turn it to you next anyway.
The first day to circulate nomination papers is Tuesday, September 20th, next Tuesday. Packets will be available as a courtesy at Main Park, as well as on the Park District website sometime late tomorrow afternoon. Each candidate will be required to have not less than 97 signatures of registered Park District voters in order to file petitions for the Park District Commissioner election. And the candidates will start filing their nomination papers December 12th through the 19th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday at the Hockey Building here, right across the street, here across the Parkway. For more information, you can contact me, or you can actually go to the Illinois State Board of Elections at www.elections.il.gov. And there's 3 seats up for election, and the length of the term is 4 years. And that's it.
Good, so I got this. So that's what we wanted to say about the election. Staff is all working very, very hard on budgets. It's that time of the year, so there's a lot of meetings going on with all different levels of staff. So we've got some great conversations going on about budgets. This includes capital and operational. I do want to mention the Oakton referendum that is coming up November 8th, that vote. And the staff is working on making sure the community is informed about this project. So we have several initiatives underway. We've updated the FAQs, and that's really where people will find the most information, and that's on the website, the Park District website. And it gives a lot of different answers to things that we've been hearing, questions, what about this, what happens if this, when is the voting day, where do I vote, all of this kind of information, and why we're doing what we're doing, and why the project is what it is. The staff is attending and has been attending events and meetings just to make sure that everybody understands what they're voting on. There will be boards with the project details at all of our facilities coming at the end of the month. And then if there's any inquiries, there is a button on our web page, it says comments, and we get all those and filter those to the right staff, so if the board gets any comment, you know, anybody asking questions that you don't have all the answers to, of course, they can email, call us, but they can also just go to that comments and just type that out and we will get them. So we're working through that. There is a citizen group that has been formed. If people are interested in that, you can let me know on the contact for that. And then we have 2 all-public meetings, and this is all on the website. One is October 13th, and that's virtual, and one is October 19th here at O'Connor Building. And that is all I had at this point. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are you planning on sharing FAQs on social media? On the work history?
Yes.
I mean, I shared them on my commissioner page, but I think they're really good. I really appreciate all the information I shared them on my commissioner
Good.
Facebook, but I think they're really good and they answer a lot of questions that people have asked.
Yeah, so
So-
we're going to start rolling out different door of constant contact, which is all our participants. I believe it's 7,000 families. Margaret, can you correct me if I'm wrong.
Residents,
Yeah.
yeah, just over.
Just over 7,000, so that'll be part of a link on there.
Okay.
So when we start that, Margaret, when do those start rolling out?
End of October.
Yeah, beginning of October.
Okay.
But we can put them on there before then, if they feel like we can do it.
No, I just think they're good and people are starting to ask
Yeah.
questions, like people are like, oh, this is on there,
Right.
you know?
Some people
So
thought
it's
they
like
already
people
voted on
forgot
it.
about it, and now it's back. So,
Sure,
I think they're really good.
thank you. That's all I have.
All right, then,
Marketing and public relations, if anybody has any questions, we can answer those. And if not, anything under human resources, we will have an update to the presentation later in the meeting under personnel.
I had one quick marketing question. Is there going to be any more, like, what kind of social media pushes there going to be about Oktoberfest? Because I feel like in previous years, like prior to pandemic, I saw more stuff about it, and I feel like I haven't seen, maybe I just haven't noticed, but haven't seen as much this year.
We've done a few and there's more next week and there's an email going out tomorrow and again next week.
Fabulous.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, do you have anything else to report, or, all right, then, moving along to human resources.
Take any questions on the report, anybody has?
I'll just comment, I really appreciate the push out to the library and the city website and all the different ways we're getting the word out there. We need employees, so if any of you all out there want a part-time job, we're a great place to work. Or if you know a kid who wants a part-time job, we have a great place to work.
Thank you. And Diane's out there somewhere.
I'm out there smiling.
Responsible.
Thank you for helping us recruit.
Yes, exactly.
My button broke, so that was great.
That's awesome.
Well, and then also with HR, I wanted to note that I thought the handling of trading in Good Friday for a personal day to be used on the holiday of people's choice was a really great way to handle that situation, so that people who still want to take that day can take that day, and people who want to take something else can do that. And I thought that that was a great thing that came out of our most recent discussion, that that's the solution you came up with. So I want to commend you on that. All right, anything else? Nope. All right, we're moving along then. All right, I'll hand it over to Commissioner Bowe for finance.
All right, thank you, and I will hand it over to Superintendent DeAngelis for summary.
Thank you. My written report begins on page 12 of your board packet. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now. If not, I'll move on to the August monthly report by funds. In light of the length of our agenda, I'll make my comments a little more brief. If you would like more details, please let me know. But I do want to highlight in this month's reports, you can now really see the impact of the delay in the property tax bills. However, when adjusting for the amount of,
If you need it.
in the back, probably not. Hello? Hello? Okay. So you can really begin to see the impact of the delay in the tax bills in this month's reports. However, as I noted in the written report, when adjusting for the amount of tax revenue that was budgeted to be received and that we do expect to receive eventually, the district's financial numbers continue to look good. I also wanted to highlight in the all funds report that you can see the interest income across all funds is now slightly more than last year. And while it's about 8,000 below budget, it's improving from about 11,500 below budget as of July. So that reflects the comments that I had made about the portfolio yield and the other liquid balances would be improved. And then lastly, just those were my highlights for the reports by funds. If anybody has any questions, otherwise.
I have kind of a weird question. How is that going to affect your end of year? Are those funds going to be retroactively?
So we accrue revenue received and expenses received up until the end of February. So hopefully we will, if the penalty date is January 1st, hopefully we'll receive the bulk of that and it would accrue back.
Okay.
So then moving on to the financial projections, I do want to highlight, we usually look at the graph, but I did want to highlight the fund balance projection table on page 23 and draw your attention to the projected expenses for the next 3 months of September through November. So the total projected expenses for those months is about 6.4 million. So that's what we need to plan for regarding the need for liquidity. To kind of further the conversation we had at last month's meeting, I just wanted to point that out. And the fund balance projection graph continues to reflect that we should be able to manage through this delay in property taxes, assuming that January 1st, 2023 is the penalty date. But we have not heard that definitively yet, so we'll continue to monitor any updates and adjust the projections and investment strategy as more information becomes available. Any questions on my report?
I have one.
Sure.
So that the capital outlay, of about $1.5 million in December, what is that?
So when we project the budgets, we look at, we kind of allocate our current year's budget based on our prior year's experience. And typically, as we just talked about these accruals,
Yeah.
we sometimes get these delayed expenses from work that was done in the fall that
Okay.
we don't get billed until
Okay.
maybe January, February.
It's just bigger than a lot of the other months. So
That's the way it happened last year.
Buying.
It may not happen this
For
year, I mean,
Christmas.
particularly
Okay.
Woodland, or if they get going on a Woodland
Okay.
project, and then we don't get those invoices until when they get going, and we don't get
Okay.
those invoices, and so maybe, it'll,
Okay.
so we kind
Okay.
of, yeah, it's hard to predict the capital.
Okay, thank you. So much for.
Yeah.
Did you say that the next upcoming property tax bill on October 2nd?
Hold on a second, sir.
Oh, I can't talk? Okay, never mind.
We can put it out. We can ask for public comment at the conclusion of her
Yeah.
presentation.
Go ahead.
So I was done.
Oh, you're done?
Yeah, I was answering your question.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And then we could have a public comment, but keep in mind, this is not a question and answer session. It's just a comment period. If you do have a question, you can always contact Sandra after the meeting or email her. All the contact information is on, for all of the superintendents is on our website.
Any more discussion from the board? ask for public comment at this point. Sir, would you like to make your statement?
I just know I thought I might, I was getting ready to pay my
Please
next
step up to-
installment. And you say it's delayed, like
Oh, it's a question.
property tax?
Have you received your
Payment.
bill?
No. Okay, they haven't sent me yet.
All right.
Dirk, can you help me out, please?
I'll send it for you.
It's a big question.
It's a fair question.
It's a good question. It's a fair question. It's a good question. Hold on. We're gonna let our attorney take this one.
There you go.
So the assessor's office alerted everybody that the second installment, the second bill, which is the primary bill, the first part of your tax bill is based on last year. The second part is based on updated assessments. Katie has been working to change a lot of the manner in which assessments are done. There's a dispute between that office and the county over software, and so the office alerted every unit of local government in Cook County that they would not be collecting the second installment on time, and they would not be paying it on time. And that everybody should prepare accordingly, because the officials within Cook County are fighting each other over software, and as a result, we're having to manage the money differently. And that's why you don't go do it.
Okay. Any other public comment? All right. Then I move to approve the payment vouchers in the amount of $523,969.34. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? And let's have a vote.
Commissioner Bundy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne? Commissioner Grau?
Yes.
Commissioner Halting?
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Ledoux?
Yes.
And the motion is accepted. And would you like to talk about the acceptance of a professional auditing service for the coming years?
Sure, thank you. The district's policy,
You probably should do the vote first and then ask for discussion.
Okay, all right. So I move to accept the proposal from Lauterbach and Amann for the 2022 to 2024 with an option for 2025 and 2026 auditing services in the amount of $22,200 for 2022, $22,900 for 2023, $23,600 for 2024, and $24,300 for 2025 optional, and $25,000 for 2026 optional, including a single audit and OSLAD/IDNR grant audit fees for the, and to authorize the President and Secretary to execute and deliver such agreements. Do I
Second.
have a second?
I second.
And discussion? Would you like to provide details?
thank you. I prepared a memo on page 25. The district's policy is to do a competitive process for audit services at the end of this term of the existing contract, which expired after our 2021 fiscal year. So I've outlined the process in the memo and explained our rationale. Commissioner Bowe has reviewed and is supportive of the recommendation. I'm happy to answer any questions. Commissioner Brown?
I know we're really pleased with their work. They've done work for us in the past, and we are also coincidentally updating our processes. So they will assign a new team to our, for our audit next year.
Yes, we'll request that they assign a new lead auditor. Yes. I have to I'm not sure if our current lead auditor has been our lead auditor for 5 years, but just to make the process cleaner, I'll ask them to assign a new lead
I
auditor.
think that's great.
I would agree, that was my one concern, but I'm glad to find that there'll be a different lead auditor. Not that the other guy did anything wrong, but just for purposes of having fresh eyes, and it just looks better.
You may see him, his name again, he is the specialist for the grant audits, so I would expect him to continue in that capacity.
Great.
Were you surprised that very many people responded to the request?
I felt like that there's been some consolidation in the industry, so I wasn't completely surprised. I was very pleased that we did get 3 good, responsive, very well qualified firms. Lauterbach and Neiman just does seem to be the right fit for the size of our district and with their experience, extensive experience with park districts and other governments.
Right, and thank you for the thorough review, and I believe it's the right direction to be going. They've proven themselves, they're familiar with the park board, and, by saving money over the other proposals, it really seemed to make a lot of sense to just continue working.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? All right. Then let's have a vote.
Sure. Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne? Commissioner Grau?
Yes.
Commissioner Hulting?
Yes.
Commissioner Tuttle?
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy?
Yes.
Commissioner Ledoux?
Yes.
Passes.
All right, thank you, and
Commissioner Coyne isn't here, so I can just do
okay.
recreation and pass it on to Superintendent Armour.
Thank you very much. My report begins on page 26. I'll give a few highlights for the sake of time also. We wrapped up the summer with 2 concerts, a movie in the park, and ended up the season at the pools. Not in this report, but I wanted to share with the board that we did hire a new preschool supervisor, Brooke Plofsky, who was the current assistant preschool director, was promoted. So she jumped in right away with the Early Childhood Expo and the start of preschool. So we're now interviewing for the assistant position. So we pulled the roll rather quickly in time for the start of the program. The Beyond the Bell program is now in full swing. As you can see by the report, we added a few more charts. It's a lot of information, but staff are being hired. We hired over 20 new staff this past month. Wait lists keep moving and shrinking, but also participants continue to register. So still working on hiring, but we've made a lot of progress. And again, we're in a much better start than we were at this time last year. The fall programs, as you can see throughout the report, are starting off very strong. The driving range participation remains very strong as well, and we've had, for the most part, really good weather this past month. And the outdoor pools ended with great weather and a fun event at Hinckley. And the board will get final reports on both pools and camps at some point, most likely once we finish our start of the budget process here. And thank you, President Leduc. I was also going to mention Oktoberfest, so September 24th from 12 to 9. Stop by Hatches. It will be a great time as always. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I just had one. So as far as Beyond the Bell goes, are recruiting efforts continuing, and what are those efforts?
Yes, there was a hiring event at the school that was for Beyond the Bell and actually aquatics.
The Maine South event?
Maine South.
And when was that again?
That was, it was actually the week that Beyond the Bell started, so it was the past month. and, still doing as much outreach as we can with, I think it was mentioned a little bit in the HR report. So we're still continuing to see applications come in and hiring staff as well. So we haven't all of the outreach with the same places that we've been having throughout this
Is there going to
whole
be
process.
any recruiting going on at the Oktoberfest, or are you just concentrating on the fun aspects for?
Well, we try, but sometimes combining it with, I talked to staff about, we still need some staff for swim lessons as well. I said, well, bring your little flyers and, continue to try and recruit while we're there. But, between selling tickets and we're going to have the booth for Oakton. So the plan is we're going to try.
All right.
Commissioner Brown?
It seems like this is the third month in a row that Roosevelt's at 50. So we've opened the newest room, right? Are we still looking for a supervisor or?
We're still looking for staff. We have had some movement in that wait list, but people are still registering.
Right.
So it just keeps going up and down and up and down.
Well, and Roosevelt and Washington have the two highest populations of students as well, right?
But Washington has 0
Yeah, I
waits,
noticed.
and Roosevelt has 50, and every month it's 50.
Right.
So-
It really just depends on where the staff are able to work and how many days.
I also had a question about the preschool. It seems like our number is down. Is there a staffing issue there too, or is that just we're not?
No, we don't have we're fully staffed right now in preschool. We are looking for early childhood staff, but we are fully staffed in preschool. And I think that's still just kind of a transition from COVID, yes. But no, preschool, luckily right now, we are fully staffed. Yes, and if you look at, Commissioner Grau, if you go back to the chart on page 28 and kind of look at the Roosevelt line from August 8th to September 6th. So we tried to add that chart to see the movement from August to September in the wait list. Hopefully that helps.
I appreciate all that slicing and dicing. I know that was a lot of work. I really appreciate it. And I believe we are actively recruiting, as I said earlier, so it's just a concern in the community, as you know.
We've gone to Oakton Community College for hiring staff, right? Community college or?
There has been some advertising at Oakton, but we
Okay.
really don't get any movement at all
Okay.
historically,
Okay.
including this year,
Thanks.
unfortunately.
Too bad there's not a way to connect like students who are getting early childhood related degrees with a chance to get some good hands-on experience
Well, there's at
and
least,
class credit.
there's at least one that is doing that from Oakton. At least, yeah.
Has there ever been any sort of arrangement where do they get credit, like class credit as well as? Because I mean, I feel like that's something that if it could be worked out with,
We've talked
and
about
could
that.
incentivize
I think we've
people.
tried to connect with administration there and haven't really had too much luck with moving forward with that.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for Superintendent Armour? Seeing none, I'm going to pass it now to Commissioner Holding for Buildings and Grounds.
Thank you. Nice progress in your report. Do you want to highlight everything before we get into the first question about that first view of property?
Yeah, my report does begin on page 37 of the board report. First, I just want to talk about Wohlers Hall. We have been communication with Padermo. We've gotten approval to move forward with one of the vendors, and I'll be checking references. I've been in contact with that vendor. They said they're going to get me some references this weekend to check on, and then hopefully everything will go well and quick and smooth, and we will begin working next week would be my best case scenario, but hopefully the week after. In either case, they are expecting 6 to 9 weeks of construction, so I will keep everyone updated as that moves forward. So that was found out just shortly after the report here. So I think beyond that, if there's any other questions that anybody has about anything in my report, I'd be happy to answer any questions or take any comments.
Hi. So I was doing some running errands today, and I wanted to compare the pictures to what I saw on the ground. And I was at J.C. Park, and there was a guy playing tennis on the lunch hour. And yeah, he was doing serves, and he was a neighbor. So he says, yeah, he loved the court, but he said there's a storm drain that's there on the northeast side of the tennis. And he and the neighbors kind of noticed that. So I think it's something, either you put a bridge across it or something, because it looks a little dangerous. You'll check it out. I mentioned it to you earlier, but I wanted to kind of say it in public so that the neighbors will be happy about that. And anyway, but it looked great. And I stopped by Woodland, and that is sad, so I'll just pass that along. And I really wanted to see, I forgot about Oakton, but that driving range does look great. And yeah, I'll have to check that out. And then I did see the community gardens today, and they were exciting to see all the produce that was there. And hopefully they'll be picking them soon, because they're ripe.
It's a season of abundance.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Benny. We'll certainly look into that trend.
There you go. Okay, thank you, Terry.
Any other big picture questions for Terry? All right.
Thank you for checking into the oak situation.
Sure. Yeah, it's expensive, but we're going to continue the conversation and see what makes sense and how we can address it. So they did, I think I indicated that would be annual cost of that dollar amount to treat all of them. So
Every year?
every year. For I don't know how long, but I think, looking into that and having a conversation, Stephanie was working with from earlier, was actually applauded us for taking that approach and said, seriously, don't worry about the project. We have other places that it's good of you to think of it that way. So, yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I'm going to go to the next item, the approval of the 531 Forest View Property Planning and Design Services Agreement with FGM Architects. I move to approve an agreement not to exceed $58,150 with FGM Architects for creating construction documents, permitting assistance, bidding assistance, and construction administration for the development of the 531 Forest View property, and to authorize the executive director to execute and deliver such agreement. Can I have a second?
Second.
Terry, do you want to share more about this?
Yes, thank you. First of all, let me apologize for not having brought this up in discussion at a previous meeting. I know typically we like to discuss these things and then approve at the following meeting. This one had kind of slipped off the radar because we were so focused on looking and waiting for the agreement as kind of our starting point. Well, obviously, once we got all the agreement, everything, paperwork and documents in order, we were ready to work in earnest towards this project, and we want to make sure that we're moving towards completion. So I do apologize that this fell off my radar, but I am requesting that we approve this. This was something that we had anticipated. It was built into the budget projections that we had shared previously, so we're still in line with that and within the anticipated cost for this. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have on this.
All right. Ann, can we have a vote?
Sure. Commissioner Cohen? Commissioner Grau?
Yes.
Commissioner Helping?
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Bundy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Ledoux?
Yes.
All right. All right, motion passes. So we'll move on to the hot topic of the evening, review of the South Park grant and master plan proposal and public input. Should I go ahead and do the motion? Yes. Okay. I move to approve the South Park master plan as presented. Can I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on this?
I just want to mention that for the public's knowledge, hopefully you can hear me, we're going to discuss, do the presentation, the board will discuss it, and then we'll open it up for public comment, just so you know the order that we'll go through it, so you'll have plenty of time to make your comments.
Okay, so we went for today's presentation next? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure I have it right.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would like to welcome Liz Defoe from Upland Design here. Liz did help us, we went through the public meeting a few weeks ago. She did lead us through that presentation. For the purposes of the board and the community, we asked her to kind of highlight that as well as to go through and highlight some of the things that we've been doing since then. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Liz to walk us through.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. If you want to start with the first slide. As you guys all know, oh, thanks, I'm pretty loud, but I can use them.
Yeah, but you're facing the wrong way.
All right, so as the board is probably aware of the OSLIDE grant, but for those who are not, it is a 50-50 match grant from the state. And this year, they've increased the match to $600,000. And the aggressive schedule we've been going on is because they only gave us till September 30th to submit the grants. And then the hope is that they will be awarded 2023 with construction to continue in 2024 to 2025. Just a quick overview of South Park, which is though the grant we were going to focus on phase one, we really took a step back and wanted to look at the park as a whole to really make sure that all of the phase one improvements would fit in with future development needs. So through working with the staff and previous input that had been garnered, we came up with the proposed master plan, which we presented at a public input session. So this is the overall master plan, and then I'll run through, highlight the components that are proposed to be in phase one. So first up is the playground renovation. So this is the current location of the playground. So we are proposing to improve it with new play equipment, new poured-in-place surfacing, some engineered wood fiber. As you'll see, that's where the brown area is on the plan. This would all be north of the existing wading pool. It would include also new fencing, new landscape, new drinking fountain. And one of the things is we didn't really focus on picking play equipment as part of this process because it was so quick, but with the plan that once we get the grant, we can really go back for community feedback on that. The next big ask was a picnic shelter as well as restrooms. So you'll see here is an example of what that could potentially look like. We've located it just south of the existing wading pool with connections up to the playground. So this way, the restroom facilities could service the entire park as well as residents who are visiting the wading pool and provide a larger shelter space for events. And then the next component is redoing the existing tennis courts. So you'll just see here the 4 existing courts would get new asphalt, new color coat resurfacing, new windscreen, and you'll see the 2 new pickleball courts on the far right. So those are, so that's planned for that area. And then we also wanted to make some accessibility connections, not only to the existing baseball field on the top northeast corner, but then it would also connect to the parking, and through community input, it would also, we would make sure to connect to the existing sidewalk, both on the north as well as you see it continues down around the baseball field to the tennis courts and the sidewalk on Devon, so that there would be a nice walking loop utilizing the existing sidewalk. In addition, we recognize that as part of this development, we are going to have to do some sort of detention. We would like to utilize a rain garden space to help deal with some of that stormwater management, and as part of that include some interpretive signage. So quick, as you'll see here, looking at that same master plan, but the areas that have been kind of circled in red are what would be proposed as phase 1. And the one thing I did forget to mention just north of the rain garden is where that existing shelter is. So part of this project will look at renovating that and cleaning that area up a little bit so it can also be utilized. And then, go to the next slide. So you'll see there's a couple other areas I didn't mention on here. These are the proposed future improvements. So some of the other things that were recognized is improving or expanding the existing wading pool, as well as improving the existing parking lot. And I do recognize that there are some spaces missing. Sorry, we are not reducing the parking at all. All the spaces are there. They just got left off this diagram. And then we also looked at the area just north of the tennis courts as possible room for expansion of additional courts in the future. And to the right there is an opportunity to add an additional shelter if needed for the tennis, pickleball groups or baseball. And that is the overall master plan one more time. And then I also have the results. When we presented this to the public, we asked them some questions as we went through it. And this is showing some of the results. So the first thing we asked was, of the things that we're proposing in this phase 1 development, which is your highest priority? And in this group, the playground was identified as the highest, with the shelter and tennis kind of a close second. And then we just wanted to, do a gut check that all the things we were including in the OSLAD was what people were finding the most important, and they agreed with that. Almost 90% agreed with us. And then the last question we asked them, of future amenities, which was the highest priority for us to look at in the future, and the number one of those is the wading pool. At 44%, followed by the additional courts at 25%, additional shelter, and then parking. And then, so after part of the public comment, a lot of people mentioned the need for, there was a very good discussion about pickleball versus tennis, so we decided to go back out to the community. So this was an online survey, and we got over 500 respondents to this survey, and we asked them again the same questions we did at the public meeting, and we presented the master plan was available for them to look at. And you'll see, though the playground was still very important to this group, the pickleball kind of outpaced them slightly at 175 votes to the playground at 153. And then you'll see tennis and restroom buildings lagging close behind. Again, we asked if they agreed with our OSLAD grant. They said yes. And then the next amenities, you'll see that people were looking for were upgrading the wading pool, followed by improving the existing building. Part of our discussion that during the virtual meeting was people were asking about improvements to the existing building there. So we did add that. And then because of the tennis pickleball discussion, we decided to ask a few more questions, and these are the results. So we asked, who's playing pickleball versus tennis, and of the people that were responding, 142 said they're playing pickleball now, 108 said tennis, and then another 80 said they're doing both. And then we asked if in the past they were able to find courts to play on, to play tennis on. 87 votes said that all the time they could find tennis. 91 was sometimes. 72 is most of the time, and 54, they said they often couldn't find courts. And then we asked the same question about pickleball, and you'll see that most people could not find courts, with just 13 saying all of the time they could. So So we took all of this feedback and that went into the decision to keep the 2 pickleball courts that were shown on the plan. And so our next step is to finalize the master plan. Based on any comments tonight, ideally we'll get the resolution to go for the OSLED grant as well tonight. And then on the 30th, we'll get the grant submitted and hope for a work. Sorry, I ran through that kind of quick. Is there any questions?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you could leave it about the master plan for just a minute. Yeah, I think if anyone has any questions, now.
Will the restrooms be available in the winter for skaters?
Maybe. I'd have to follow up. I'd have to follow up with Upland to see if having it heated to that degree
Well,
is
yes.
budgeted, but we could look at that certainly.
I've also heard, and I know this is very late, but just keep it in our, idea basket that storage and things is not very great for the skaters either. Like, I don't know if you could work that building that it could have cubbies or on the outside, places to put your coats or, and if the bathroom could work in the winter, that'd be great too, but I know it's very late, so.
No, that's a good. It's a good idea. It's not something that we would have to decide now for the OSLED grant or even the master plan, because it's kind of a mechanical feature.
And I see that shelter, and I think of the one at Wildwood with the big fireplace. And that
We
was
talked
cool
about
too.
We talked about
Did you? Yeah. There's only so much room over there, I know. And I think it's a great compromise on pickleball. So it is lighted over there, right? Which we don't have
It is
lighted.
correct, yes. These 2 pickleball courts would be our only 2 lit pickleball courts in that location. So
And Woodland is not lit.
Woodland is not lit.
I'm getting the requests for lighting already.
I mean, that's good that people are open to the idea of lighting in some of the parks. It's
Well,
something
they're
I've
the
heard as well.
users, they're the users. Right.
Terry, so given that there clearly is a lot of interest in both tennis and pickleball in the community, I mean, this is one of the topics that I've seen both before I was on the board and now, that like this gets way more people to show up than any of the other meetings I've been to. What would be the viability of keeping in the phase 1, keeping the 4th tennis court and putting the 2 pickleball courts in the little reserve space above it? Would that?
I mean, I think that's always possible. It's a budgetary.
But how
item.
much?
Yeah, it's around 153,000.
Yeah.
Not including, pointing out that those, if we put those 2 courts there, they would not then be lit. Because that's dead area. We don't have budget for lighting included in those numbers, so.
Which one?
Somewhere it's in the packet.
I swear
it's 153. I don't know why that's sticking in my brain.
Okay.
That's what I saw.
Sorry. No, it's 137, yeah, it's very small rating. 137, 600 for $1. Estimate. So, yeah, it
It's
is.
like we all have different ideas what it is. Well, because, yeah, I mean, that's definitely something, because these are amenities that clearly people care a lot about, and it'd be nice, I mean, I remember when we were discussing Woodland, one of the big factors that went into it was because it would be such significant increase in price to have pickleball and then just 1 tennis court, that we ended up going with all pickleball. And so kind of looking at our park district in the aggregate rather than just park by park, I mean, I feel like this might be a nice opportunity to have like both present. And I mean, I recently was walking my dog back by the tennis courts before he had his class, and it's a Wednesday night and all the tennis courts were full, and there were people who were trying to get in who even couldn't. So, I mean, if it's viable, I mean, I think that's something that we should discuss as well.
I think we should talk about the budget, just so the board's understanding the scope
Yep, sure.
at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Do you have the microphone? You can-
Yeah, so we, we did look at this from a budget standpoint, certainly I think if we could have, right now, the budget that we have for the overall OSLAD project is anticipated or expected to be about 1.4 million. So what that means is, potentially $600,000 of that would be offset. We're left with $820,000 for us to cover. We have, like the financing, if we look at our capital budgets now, that's a number amount that we're comfortable with, but is, we had some discussion that if we got to a point where, potentially we had a good year and we had some, surplus revenues, we could consider that down the road. What we're, looking for right now, we're talking about the master plan in general. We're asking for possible approval of the overall master plan tonight. But we're also, looking for the resolution on the OSLAD grant. When we're applying for an OSLAD grant, we're applying for amenities. And so if we're putting in for, it's a line item of amenities. We're going to have a plan that shows perhaps this. But if we say that we're, anticipating putting in pickleball courts, and we're going to have tennis courts, and we're going to have, shelter, et cetera, as long as we're providing those amenities, that's okay. So we can come back to this, towards the end of the year or even after the grant and say, you know what, we have come up with enough money to go ahead and put in the extra courts in those areas right there that we've identified. So
Okay,
it
so
wouldn't
we don't
jeopardize
have
our grant.
to-
It wouldn't jeopardize our grant.
It's not frozen in stone. If we say four tennis, 2 pickleball versus 3 tennis, 2 pickleball, it's not,
No.
Yeah.
this is not etched in stone.
And
This
the
is-
5 amenities that are in there max out the 600, and we can't apply for more than 600
Right.
anyway. So it's kind
Yeah,
of
so we're, I mean,
neither here
it's,
for the
Right.
grant part.
correct, yes. We're looking for that mix of those 5 amenities and how that, because without that mixture of amenities, the 5, we wouldn't become eligible. We wouldn't
Well,
get.
you'd have to add a different amount.
We'd have to add
You'd
something
to
else.
add
At a
another.
different cost or whatever. So-
Yeah, having the 5 makes it a stronger grant, so having pickleball shown that you want to add it makes it a much stronger grant. Where if you were to just say, we're going to do the 4 tennis, but we've worked many times where you get the grant for the amenities you want and then people add stuff later. That's totally allowed. Or mixing things up as long as you're giving them the base of what you put in the
As long
grant.
as we hit the things that we say
Yes.
we're gonna
Yes.
do with the grant money, we're good.
Exactly.
And we can figure out the, I guess, proportions of them at a later date based
Yes,
on
absolutely.
what we get for the grant. Okay, that's definitely good to know, because, yeah, I mean, like, my answer, if we get a full $600,000, my answer might be one thing versus if we got $300,000, it would probably be a different answer.
They will give us, it's either all of the money or.
Oh, it's all or nothing?
It's all or nothing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's also good to know.
Yeah.
How many pickleballs can you get in that extra little area?
2.
So the same as would be, okay. And I mean, there would probably be some spillover light from the, since it's right next to the tennis courts, yeah?
I mean, I know it's not the right size courts and right netting and everything else, but I have actually seen people out there play pickleball on the tennis courts in the past, so I mean, spill over from like them playing on those.
No, I mean
The
lighting,
Oh,
so like if
lighting,
you've
yeah.
got the pickleball right next to the tennis, depending on the positioning of the tennis light poles, or
Currently,
the
yeah,
tilt of the,
currently there's probably some spillover there.
The lights are there.
They're LED, but they're not
They're not the ones that just go straight
not
down.
as good as the ones we put up.
Okay.
And
So
is-
there's probably some spill, but not a lot.
then are those lights part of the grant proposal as well, or nothing being done to those?
They're not, because we recently upgraded those.
Oh.
So, I would not suggest that they would be lit enough for playing
Nighttime.
regular play.
Okay.
So, because it wouldn't be at the proper light levels. Wouldn't want to advertise those as lit courts when it's just, overspill light.
I get
that
it.
might be there, so.
Romantically lit.
Romantic-
Pickleball
Yes.
game. Yes.
What would the cost be to add lights to that area, or something like that?
I'm not sure, but it would likely be a six-figure number.
Oh.
Would be my guess, but I would have to.
Because you got holes.
Well, and not, I mean, we'd have to add holes, but we would need to, like,
Wiring.
electrical, boring, the whole, it
Hoping we don't hit a
would be
random
significant.
100-year-old pipe that nobody knew about.
It would be significant. Thank you.
I just wanted to comment that for throwing this together in this amount of time, you provided a ton of data. You've got a lot of information. You've got survey data that really helps us to see the picture of what's here when we have all the community involvement of all of the years that I've been involved with using this park, from my little kids using the playground to the ice skating rinks in the winter, to the tennis courts, and now we're a pickleball family and part of that also, to using Kalina, knowing that the work has been done on Kalina to keep it up to date. It's a remarkable thing to see all of this information that helps us to see what people's interests are on an aggregate amount. So thank you for pulling all of that together, because it really gives us an idea of, you know, how the plan came together. And from what I've seen, you're pulling that together and trying to present what you're hearing and seeing in a really sound way. So thank you for all of that and making it come together in this plan.
Yeah, and it's a truly team effort. I'm pretty sure Liz hasn't slept since the day the announcements were made. So she probably hasn't had a day off. So I can pretty much assure that. But yes, thank you, and thank you, Liz. Are there any more board comments or questions?
All right, oh, and just a reminder for for public comment, if you could step up to the dais, give us your name, and then Rob will be timing you to keep you to 3 minutes, so it's fair and so that we're not here till midnight. So.
Get the hook.
Hi, my name is Bob Ryan. I'm the president of the Park Ridge Pickleball Club. We thank you all for letting us come in and have some public input. Just for your information, we have, you've seen pickleball people are very enthusiastic. Most of these folks are pickleball people, including Kathy Capper, whose birthday is today, so she gave us a birthday card. Thank you, Kathy. Anyway. The Pickleball Club has gone from 86 members to 126 members in 1 year. I think within 5 years we'll have 300 Pickleball Club members. The tennis affiliates have about 320 affiliate members right now. So we will match that kind of need for pickleball support courts in Park Ridge within 5 years. And I think a master plan looks forward to the community, where do we want to be in 5 years? So this is very good. We have 10 lighted tennis courts right now in Park Ridge, in the Park District. I don't know if the high school tennis courts are lit or not, but we have 0 lit pickleball courts. So you can't, sun goes down, pickleball stops. I think our, frankly, wish would be to have 2 of the tennis courts converted over to 6 tennis pickleball courts, because I think there will be enough need. But certainly having 9 tennis courts in the Park District system and having a total of 7 or 9 pickleball courts is a good first step. We all know we can't put more lights at another park. There's lots of issues, lots of cost. So it's going to be South Park and Hinckley. And I think at some point, we may want to add more pickleball courts at South Park, either in that expansion zone north of the tennis courts, or even converting another one of the tennis courts. But we do have 20 tennis courts in the high school system that people can use. And if you go up to Northeast Park any morning, a lot of evenings, it's packed. We have, again, 120 pickleball club members, and we have room for 12 players. But anyway, so we do support moving forward with more pickleball courts at South Park. Thank you all very much. And good luck with the woodland construction.
I'll take a shot.
Good evening. I'm Dick Barton. First of all, I congratulate the board for serving. I was in your chair for 4 years and president for a year. So I understand the challenge of trying to meet a lot of activity needs for the community, especially as they change. So I congratulate everyone who worked on this plan. It looks wonderful. And as you probably read in many newspapers, including the front page of the Tribune, the Washington Post today, and other papers, pickleball is on fire. We had a national tournament up here in Highland Park a few weeks ago. It's they have big tournaments all over the country with $100,000 in prize. It's international. This organization, USA Pickleball, estimates there's 5 million players in the U.S. and growing, the fastest growing sport. So certainly adding 2 courts to this plan makes perfect sense. I was on the committee that helped pass the referendum to purchase this land that we're now on and develop this park. And one of the things that struck me as I was sitting here, that residents, I think, bought into the concept of buying this land and developing it, was we were underserved in terms of open space compared to our neighbors. Frankly, right now we're underserved for pickleball compared to our neighbors like Niles, Glenview, Des Plaines. A lot of our players go there. We were real busy Wednesday morning. Some of the players went to a private court over in Park Lane to play because there was no courts, including somebody that striped it with chalk at Northeast Park, and we had 4 courts for about an hour. So the need is there. I congratulate you on the plan and hope you pass it as such. Thank you. Did you make my 3 minutes?
Oh, you have plenty of time.
Okay.
Anybody else? Mary, go.
Hi, I'm Mary Muno, and I am on the pickleball board also. And I just want to ask the board, how many of you have been to Northeast Park? Okay. Could you give me an idea how many pickleball courts you think, or how many courts are there? Anybody else?
But this is not a back and forth, this is a time for public
Okay,
comment.
well, I just,
They're
So
always
if you-
occupied, if that's what you want me to say.
no, that isn't actually, I wanted to tell you, there's really one pickleball court.
Yeah.
That's the only designated court in Park Ridge. We're a pretty big community. And just like we just heard, it's a huge group that are playing pickleball. And while we say we have 125 members or what it is, that's not all the people playing pickleball. That's just that belong to the Park Ridge Pickleball Association. And they're coming from other areas. And we're gonna have people, when we get our 6 new courts, whenever that is, we're gonna have them playing here, like we're going to Niles, to, all these people will tell you where they're going to play.
Glenview, Northborough, Des Plaines.
And
Elmhurst.
it's kind of embarrassing, to tell you the truth. It's pretty embarrassing when you go to other suburbs and see what they have. So, unlike Bob, I'm not as kind about saying that those should be 2 pickleball courts. I think they should all be pickleball courts. And I think when you see what's going on in the country, that it's just amazing, you know, that we are as underserved as we are. Thank you.
My name is Kelly Gust, and I'm a pickleball player from Park Ridge, but I play pretty much all over everywhere because we don't have courts here. So I had a question about, for Liz, about the grant. Did you do the last grant that we applied for? The Woodland? Okay, because my concern about the South Park grant is, was the first grant turned down because of parking lot and lack of
This is not just a
Okay, I
reminder,
can't
this
ask the
is
question,
a
okay.
question.
Okay,
If you do have a question, you can always email our executive director or any of the staff.
okay, okay. So anyways, if I can ask a question, then I'll just echo the enthusiastic response for additional pickleball courts. As we said, we've got over 100 members, and we have one court in Park Ridge. So I play in Buffalo Grove 3 times a week. I would love, as a Park Ridge resident, to be able to use our park district. You know, we have kids that play soccer, kids that play football, kids that play everything. We've got all these amenities. We don't have the pickleball courts we need and want and deserve. So I hope we will move forward with at least 2 and possibly 4 courts. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dave Supera, and I just want to make one comment. The one pickleball court we have in Park Ridge, one, has a tennis net. It's not even a pickleball net. It's really embarrassing, just so you know.
Hi, I'm Wes Davis. I play pickleball, I've been playing for a while. I've been going because I can't really, there aren't enough courts here. One of the places that I go is Elmhurst. It's not far from me, it's only about a 15-minute drive. But we've got over 500 people signed up to play on 6 courts there. And it's going to become 500 here.
Hi, Cliff Kowalski, 332 Vine Avenue, been a resident since 1986. I apologize to Terry, he keeps on getting my emails and pictures. I appreciate your forward thinking, but the one thing to also remember, the schools are now teaching pickleball. All the grade schools, when we're playing pickleball in the morning, field schools out there with pickleball classes. The high schools are teaching pickleball. You need forward thinking. That's what you guys look like you're doing. And I think that you're going to have a lot of kids playing pickleball coming up in the future, and it's going to be exploding, and we hope that you could take that into consideration. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Franklin Lim. I'm also a pickleball player. One thing I want to make a comment is that I play in a lot of places. I mean, I literally travel as far as Indiana and Wisconsin, so I do a lot of pickleball, 6 days a week. Almost in every place I play, a lot of the tennis courts were just striped for pickleball. So we always have this discussion, you know, are we supporting tennis, are we supporting pickleball? We've got space limitations, we've got cost limitations. You could make all 4 tennis courts, I don't have a problem with that, as long as you line them for pickleball. Have a sharing plan, you know, every other day, you know, somebody gets it, whatever. But to always have this controversial, oh, you're supporting this group, we're not supporting this group, you get a lot of residents upset. You have a limited set of resources, remember to share, my opinion.
Any tennis player?
Oh, wait,
Hi, Dan. Hello? Dan Griffith, Park Ridge. I just wanted to emphasize ditto for everything that's been said, but also if everybody here that's sport pickleball could stand up. Okay, and this is just a small portion of the group that shows up virtually every morning over at Northeast Park. There's anywhere from 15 to 20 people to play on one court with a tennis net. And 2 courts that are lined to put up portable nets. So we definitely need more pickleball.
Be nice. There it goes.
Do you have to press a button or something?
No.
My name is Tom Usher. I live in Park Ridge.
I just want to make a comment, especially if this is the original plan and you're thinking of adding later. When people play pickleball, they put their paddles up and they have courts next to each other. So putting a pickleball court would make no sense, like on the other side, if you do that in the expansion. So better to put them together, so maybe consider that.
I have one other thing that I forgot to say. At one point, I contacted somebody from the Park District to volunteer to make a contribution to the pickleball courts by putting fences between the courts, like they have at the new Niles court. I can give you her name, but she never called me back. So if money is a problem, it's not, I don't think it's being handled correctly.
Hi, I'm Steve Berg, and I also, like many of the people here, I travel almost daily just to be able to play pickleball. One question I had was back to this survey. Was there any surveys done before this design was developed? Because what I saw was that there was more interest, a lot more interest in that survey for pickleball than versus tennis. Was that right?
Well, I mean, this all, once again, this isn't a question and answer, but
Okay.
I mean, this
What I
this
saw
all
was-
had to kind of come together on a very tight time
Okay,
frame
okay.
because of the availability of the
So I
grant.
saw about as much interest in tennis as there was in the outhouses. So when I look at the real estate that was applied here for tennis versus pickleball, it seems like you should have at least 50% of the court space for pickleball, which would allow 6 courts, and 50% for tennis, which would allow 2 tennis courts. But to Franklin's point, a lot of the places don't have to decide. They would put in 4 courts, they would line them for 8, and then they would have 8 temporary nets. Glencoe does this.
Everyone does
The
it.
West School does it. They do it many places. So probably at less cost, you can just put the 4 tennis courts in. You'd never have to add the extra pickleball courts that we're talking about. And just have 8 nets. Nets are about $300. So you could have six nets for $2,000, and we wouldn't have this discussion about adding courts later. We'd just have a tennis/pickleball facility. Something to think about. Thank you.
All right, any other comments? I want to thank everybody for your comments. They're definitely helpful, great suggestions. So all of this is really helpful for helping us to make these decisions. And I think an important part of this is that it is somewhat that this isn't quite determined and set in stone. Like the configuration of the courts can be modified at a later time?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
The specific amenities for the grant, we have to, if we get the grant, we have to comply and add those certain amenities. But we can change the configuration of tennis courts, all the pickleball lines if we choose, or,
So it's not end of discussion, we just first off have to get
We have to,
Get the
we
grant.
have to get the grant, but we have to, if we get it, we have to apply with the certain amenities that we're saying we want to do. For instance, if we put pickleball in there, we have to put pickleball courts. Doesn't matter if we put 2 or more, but we have to.
a placeholder.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor right now.
Yep.
Any other discussion?
No, it's me.
Oh, sorry.
Let's remember, superintendent. Yes, yes. So,
I was just reminding Commissioner Holtzman, this is for the master plan.
We have two votes.
We have two votes. This one's for the master plan. The next one's for the resolution to apply for the OSLAD grant, which that will be.
Okay. But I think to Commissioner Bowe's question, if we approve the master plan tonight and then we decide to go with, like, for example, a combo tennis pickleball for all of the court space, would we have to come back and reapprove the master plan?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
The master plan is the vision of, I mean, the board can change the
I just know
master
how.
plan. However, the grants, you can't change, right?
Yeah.
You can change the combination,
Right.
but the elements that go into it.
Okay. All right, so we have the motion that's been seconded to approve the South Park master plan as presented. Can I have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Grau?
Yes.
Commissioner Hulting?
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne? Commissioner Leduc?
Yes.
Okay, so the following motion passes. The following motion is about the OSLAD grant. So the motion is, I move to authorize the executive director to execute and deliver the OSLAD grant program resolution of authorization form as presented and such other documents in connection with applying for an OSLAD grant for the South Park property. Can I have a second?
Second.
All right. And so this grant proposal is due in 2 weeks. Any other context? I mean, we've covered it quite a bit already, but any other? All right. Any questions or discussion from the board? Okay. Mary Ann, can we have a roll call vote?
Sure. Commissioner Hulting?
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne? Commissioner Grau?
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc?
Yes.
All right. Motion passes. And thanks for all the comments.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
I have my and yes, thank you, Liz. I will turn it over to Commissioner Tunnell to talk about financial policies. Not as fun.
Oh, hold on a second. Why don't we take a 5-minute break?
Go ahead.
All right, we now resume the meeting of the Park Ridge Board of Commissioners. It is approximately 8:32, still September 15th. And we're going to Commissioner Tunnell for policy report.
That cleared a room.
But the rest of us find it very fascinating.
I move to approve the financial policies 3.142 amendments to the administrative policy manual as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Good job.
She added one thing, right?
If you'd like me to speak to it, I will say that I did not receive any additional comments from what we reviewed at the last board meeting. I did add an additional revision, which you can find on page 2 in the purchasing policy section, inserting language that gift cards may not be purchased for employees to ensure compliance with IRS gross income reporting requirements. So that's the only change from the last version we looked at.
All right, hearing no discussion, maybe we'll call for a vote, please.
Sure. Commissioner Tunnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne? Commissioner Grau?
Yes.
Commissioner Hulting?
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc?
Yes.
Thank you. We're moving on to the personnel policy manual amendments from the past meeting.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back. Do I need the microphone with a smaller group? No?
We can hear you.
Okay, good. So in your board packet on page 128, I prepared a memo which summarizes some modifications to our original recommendation from the last meeting. At the August 18th board meeting, staff recommended changes to the full-time policy manual related to benefits. One was healthcare, the cost sharing between the employer and the employee. The second was vacation and how it's calculated and the number of days we grant. And the last being holidays. So we heard everyone's comments, we received a number of inquiries about more data surrounding, not the quantity of holidays that we are recommending per se, but really taking a look at, gee, which holidays are we recognizing? So that's where the conversation kind of led. So I provided you the data that was requested, and we came up with a recommendation, a slight modification, in that Good Friday seems to be a day that many employers do no longer recognize, or is not as popular perhaps as it was in years past. There are a lot more holidays now, state, federal holidays such as MLK, Juneteenth, etc. And so what staff did, it took a look at the number of days that we were requesting and thought that Good Friday, it doesn't look like it's as popular as it used to be. We are recommending that we no longer recognize that as a holiday for the district and give employees in lieu of that a personal day. So therefore, they could take that personal day for whatever personal reasons they may have, be it religion, personal beliefs, and with the, who knows what the future holds with other holidays, state and federal, but we felt that would give employees a wash, right? But yet still kind of satisfy it being a little bit more up to date and contemporary, and then employees can recognize these other holidays as they wish. So if they want Good Friday off, they could request it. If they want MLK Day off, they could request it, or any of the other multiple holidays that the state and federal agencies recognize. So I'm prepared, if you want me to recap everything that I presented at the last meeting, I don't need to. I just wanted to highlight for you the modification. So that's the only change to our original recommendation.
And I appreciate you working on that and empowering the employees to make that choice. So I think that's a good move.
Yeah. So for clarity, it's not as if we went back to staff to ask them this. The management team got together to really analyze it. We talked about, gee, how many days do people really ask that day off? Well, geez, how will that pose a problem for staffing and whatnot? So really, the management team made that decision. We didn't go back to staff and solicit them, but we got a feel for how are they using it now.
I just appreciate that they're empowered to choose. So if they feel passionate about a holiday,
yes,
they can choose that holiday.
Agreed. I may have misunderstood your comment, but yeah, I think it's a great thing to let them choose.
I agree too. And I think it's common in the working world.
Yeah, and it's very defensible too for employees who have those personal beliefs that we're giving you this in lieu of. Do with it what you may. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm wondering, a few years down the road, people are going to say, what happened to Good Friday? How come I don't get that off anymore? And we're going to have to remind everybody, but
you got this.
You do have this in exchange, and I'm just wondering down the road. And I completely agree also, give people the choice as to what days are important to them.
Floating holiday might be a term that you choose
Yes.
instead of personal day. Floating holiday.
That's a great point. And in my corporate days, we did call it floating.
Yeah.
Something to consider. And
Well, that way people understand that they could use it for Good Friday or Juneteenth or their birthday if they want. But I think when you say personal day, you don't think about Juneteenth or Good Friday.
It's a great point. And the verbiage does matter sometimes, and that's something, Gail, we can talk about, but I think probably for the sake of this meeting, for voting, does it matter? We could just vote on the proposals that I made at the last meeting, the quantity of days, the healthcare, all that good stuff, and we can chat about if we're going to change the name. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think it helps with the intent of what we were doing.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I think that's good, that does clarify it.
We could talk about if we would just make that one a floating holiday or the other
No.
versus is that confusing?
No, I would make them all.
Personal days, we would make them all.
Yeah, so I think if I hear what they're saying is you make all the holidays, all the personal days, you just call them floaters.
Oh, no, that's not what I was thinking.
I think she's just saying just for that specific day.
That you have a floating holiday and
Oh,
you have personal
I did
days.
misunderstand. Thank you for the
We
clarity.
took away a holiday, but you have a floating holiday.
So we didn't take it away, we just gave you a choice in when, whether it's Rosh Hashanah or Juneteenth or what have you.
Yeah.
Like, you can take it, because I think that's what we want to convey.
They may forget that, they may forget that they you know, if we had 4 this year and you're still having 4, but then you get this floating holiday, so maybe, you know, that they may not remember the numbers.
I don't see anything negative about it. It's not as commonplace in labor. It's more a bucket. In fact, some employers now have gotten away from sick days, personal days, vacation days. They throw in a bucket called PTO. We cannot, for various reasons, do that. It's something I could certainly consider, of course. I would probably be more in favor of a bucket just called floating holidays, and people take them when they want. And then they have so many of them.
But maybe for the first year or so, we could do that, like, just to make the point.
Like here are your set holidays, and then you get one floater.
Yeah, maybe for just the transition period, you know, for a year or so.
Unless you want to count the eves in there, and this is getting way too often.
Yeah.
I know, but just definitely.
I didn't mean to open up a
That's
can of
all right,
worms
sorry.
here.
We'll figure it
I'm
out.
just simply thinking, if we define personal days as how you would like to take your holidays, I would imagine that somewhere in some sort of absence database that you're maintaining, coding in a whole new category for floating holidays is more of a headache.
You don't have to code it. It's how you convey this idea that we want to recognize diversity in this district.
Right.
Not that we want to give you days off. We want you to be able to celebrate the holiday that means something to you.
We're not taking something
Explain
away.
it in a memo, we could say.
I think that's great, because we want them to understand we're not taking something away, we're giving them something, more choice.
Yeah, it would be an administrative challenge. Not that we can't do that.
But we could put it in a memo. We could at least say, this is what we're doing.
They still have to request it like a day off, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you have, however they request it, they have 10 or 9 or whatever it is.
Yeah, there's issues.
There are different categories. of
Yeah, but
days
to
off.
me, on the back end, you don't care. To me, I don't know.
You know, I do care in that when we tell employees they get, let's just say, 14 days, however you take them, holidays, personal days. Right now, we're looking at our recommendation is 5, what we're calling personal days. And so if we stick with 5 personal days, my preference, this is my preference, is just to call it 5 personal days or call it 5 floaters. And let them decide, because you could probably count 5 per.
They still have to ask you for it, right?
Yes.
5 times.
They could ask for it once, 5 times, 5 days in a
I
row.
want to take tomorrow off of work. They're not using personal holiday or
Yes.
floating holiday or personal
Yes,
day.
they are, yeah.
To me,
Yeah.
it's a day off.
Yeah, right.
So you don't care what word they use.
You can carry certain, like vacation days, they can carry 5 of them, right? So there's different rules for each category of these days off.
It just makes it a little bit more complex.
You can carry over personal days?
No, you
So
can't.
it's the same as a
So it's
holiday?
different, yeah.
It's the same as a holiday?
Yes.
We'll figure it out as long as we get your direction and approval on the quantitative days and eliminating Good Friday?
Yes, but I think the reason that Good Friday was eliminated has to be conveyed to the personnel that we are giving you the choice of what matters to you.
And that you can still take Good Friday if you want.
And I
But
think
you
that's
won't also
how
do something else.
staff sees it already. Those personal days, they already recognize that those are days they
But
can use for
they're not
anything.
talking about Juneteenth and Martin Luther King Day, are they?
They could.
They could.
Well, of course they could. What I'm saying is, we're saying, we know that you have holidays that we don't cover,
Mhm.
and we would like that conveyed to them, that we respect what you choose as a holiday.
Yes,
That's how this whole thing got started.
yes, 100% agree. So are there any other comments, questions, and we can move to a vote?
I move to approve the full-time benefits amendments to the personnel policy manual related to paid time off as modified.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion further? I will trust you with the wording, so you guys are the experts. So,
I'll work with Gail on it.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Can we have a Roll call vote.
Commissioner Bendy?
Yes?
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne? Commissioner Grau?
Yes.
Commissioner Hulting?
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Ledoux?
Yes.
I move to approve the full-time benefit amendments to the personnel policy manual relating to healthcare as presented at the August 18, 2022 regular board meeting.
Second.
Thank you. And I know we discussed at length at the last meeting, but is there any more discussion?
There was no new feedback.
I'm sorry?
There was no new feedback.
The only feedback was what I covered in that memo. So in the memo, one of you asked me for the holidays that are recognized by other districts, and that is in the memo, and we learned that no other, I think one other district.
Healthcare.
Oh, I'm sorry. There were no
No
other
other
questions on
feedback.
healthcare, no. No, thank you. Great, thanks very much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
May we have a vote?
Sure. Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne? Commissioner Grau?
Yes.
Commissioner Hulting?
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy?
Yes?
Commissioner Ledoux?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And after I cleared the room for you, I'm going to pass it over to Commissioner Bendy.
We're tabling that, okay. Tabling, we're going to come back next time. Okay.
All right, so that brings us to communications and correspondence. Any new business? All right. hearing-
Well, if I could just pose one question. When there's a large group of people that are here for an agenda item, how appropriate would it be for us to move that agenda item up to help the crowd?
Yeah, we consider that, but the only thing is if somebody had looked at the agenda in advance and planned to come like later in the meeting, they could miss it. So
Okay.
that's, I mean, that's a trade-off, right?
Which I've done before for city council meetings.
Yeah.
Like I'd wait till my kids went to bed
Yeah.
and I'd go to city council.
We've
So
had
it
that
does-
before.
Yeah.
And I think, I
It
just,
also tends to focus the comments. If you make them weak,
noted.
it's a
strategy.
there's a reason why the public comment right up front is non-agenda item.
All right, that's all.
All right, well, in that case, I move to adjourn the meeting of the Board of Park Commissioners. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, let's call a voice vote. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none,